Welcome. My name is Jack Nolan. I am a friend of the subject of our interview today and a TV news veteran. Our veteran's name is Casey Clem. We are conducting this interview on Thursday, September 28th at the Brevard Veterans Memorial Center. Good morning, Casey.
Good morning, Jack.
Where were you born?
I was born May 4th, 1974 in Ennis, Texas. My little small hometown, about 30 or 40 miles south of Dallas. So I went to school there, played ball there, lived there my whole life. Love that town, just good old small Texas town.
Tell us about your parents.
Francis and Bobby Clem. My dad, Bobby, he's a working man. He's postal worker, worked hard to make sure we had the best life. My mom, Frances, she worked as a purchasing agent at a roofing company, and they were just the best parents, and they brought us up good life, and I was real proud of my parents, and they're the reason I'm here today.
Are they still with us?
My father Bobby passed away in 2014, and I miss him every day.
Your mom?
Mom is still alive and kicking. She's doing great. She's retired and chasing grandbabies. She's got two nieces, two grandbabies, Vivian and Claire.
How about your siblings? Tell us about them.
My siblings. Sister Kelly, little Sister Kelly, she is a PE teacher at Sam Houston Elementary, or my hometown of Ennis. Sister Lindsay worked as an aerospace engineer. She's now a full-time mom with twins, Vivian and Claire. And my little brother Larry, working in computers and doing great.
Did any of them serve?
No, just me.
What were your parents or your brothers and sisters' feelings about you joining the military?
Well, my dad at first was kind of against it, so he wanted me to just stay and go to college, but I went and joined up. I didn't tell anybody. I just went and signed up, and I just came home and told him. Said, "Yeah, hey, I joined the Navy today." And Dad asked, "Did you sign anything?" I said, "Yes, I signed the papers. I'm going." And at first they were a little sad because they knew they were going to miss me, but once I told them, hey, I'm doing this, I want to serve my country, I want to see the world, plus get that college money, I want to be able to pay for college. Once I started telling them my plan and what I wanted to do, they accepted it, and they were real proud of me for doing it.
You just mentioned that your service played a role in your education, but let's start with your primary education and then move on to your secondary education.
Let's see, primary education, I went to Ennis Independent School District, great school. Graduated from Ennis High, class of '93, played football there. I was captain of the football team, even won the Offensive Lineman of the Year, and I got the highest football award Ennis has to offer, the Jack Loomis Fighting Heart Award. It was named after a World War II veteran who was killed on Iwo Jima. He played for the Giants, New York Giants, and he was killed on Iwo Jima. And he's our hometown hero, and they named the football award after him. And I was real proud to get that. My teammates voted me to get that award. And after I graduated from Ennis, I went to college at Navarra Junior College in Corsicana, Texas. I majored in radio and television broadcasting. I got an associate's degree, and tried to go to the University of Texas at Arlington, but I had a difficult time. College was just too much. I couldn't afford it. That upper level university tuition, so that's when I decided to join the Navy. And the college benefits at the time, the Navy GI Bill and the Navy College Fund equaled about $40,000, and I signed up, and that was my primary goal, to serve and come out and go to college.
So where did you take that GI Bill money? Where'd you go to college?
After that, after I got out of the Navy, I went to Tarleton State University in Stephenville, Texas, and the Navy came through. They paid for all my college. It worked out great. I got a degree in exercise and sports studies with a teaching certificate, and that allowed me to get a job teaching school and coaching football at my hometown, Ennis, Texas. I was a football coach and a history teacher there for 11 years before I moved out to Florida.
Now, before you entered the service, did you hold any jobs?
Yes, I had several good jobs as a young man. I worked for Awalt Greer, Texaco, as a lot man. That was my first job. My dad's friend Ronnie Greer hired me for that. Then my Uncle Ricky got me a job at Price Distributing as a Miller beer distributor, where I drove beer trucks and worked in the warehouse. It's a pretty good job for a young man. And then I joined the service. Those were my jobs before.
Let's go into your process of deciding which branch to join. What made you decide on the Navy?
I've always been fascinated with ships ever since I was a kid. One of our first vacations that I remember, we went to the Houston Ship Channel and we saw the battleship Texas. And from then on, I was just always interested in ships. Plus, my grandfather, Theodore Vincent Clem, he served in the Navy in World War II. He was underage. His dad changed the birth certificate. That's common back then, and he joined up, and he was in the Navy. He was on a destroyer in the Pacific fighting Japan. He was on the USS Harridan, and just kind of hearing stories about my grandfather and him being in the Navy. That made me want to be in the Navy as well. Plus, I thought the uniforms were the coolest.
Do you remember when you first thought about joining the Navy? You've said that the college money was a big part of it, but had you thought about it even before you came to that conclusion that you needed that cash to further your education?
Yes. I wanted to join up just to do it. Just make sure that I wanted to serve my country just like my dad did, my grandfather. Service was something I really wanted to do. I wanted to do my time, serve, and then get out and go to school and make something of myself.
Go back to the day you signed up. What do you remember about that day? Take us through the day.
Oh, let's see. I was driving home from Arlington, Texas. I was driving home. I was going to school at the University of Texas at Arlington, and I was just having a difficult time. I owed them a bunch of money. I couldn't pay the tuition. Plus, I was failing all my classes and trying to work. I was just having a tough time at it. And I said, this is it. I drove right past Ennis and kept on going to the nearest Navy recruiting station in Corsicana, Texas. I just drove to Corsicana and just walked in the Navy recruiter's office and just said, sign me up. And the recruiters was taken aback. It was just such an easy sell. His name was Boatswain's Mate, Second Class, Richard Reynolds. I still remember his name. And I just said, sign me up. First, let me get through Christmas, and let me go home and tell my family, and then sign me up. I'm ready to go.
Do you remember anything that Richard Reynolds said to you that day that stayed with you throughout your Navy career?
He told me that military service, being in the Navy, you'll get out of it what you put into it, and to just do your best. He told me how to survive basic training, which is basically keep your eyes straight and keep your mouth shut and do what you're told. He told me about basic. He said they're going to tear you down and then build you back up. Before they turn you loose on $1 million piece of equipment, they want to make sure you know how to fold your underwear first. And they want to make sure you're in physical shape and can do lots of push-ups and run. So I remember him telling me that. Surviving basic training, how to get through it.
Where did you do basic?
Basic training, I got shipped to Great Lakes, Illinois. Great Lakes, Illinois, 14-week program, and it's kind of just like you see in television. Sometimes you get off the bus, they yell at you, they cut your hair. It's an experience, and it's something every military member goes through. It's like an initiation and part of it. And I knew it would be rough, but after playing football and doing what Petty Officer Reynolds told me, keep your mouth shut, do what you're told, and keep your eyes straight. And that got me through it.
I know you a little bit. You're a laid-back guy in some areas, very intense in others. Was there ever a point where you thought, uh-oh, what have I done? Or were you so prepared for this, you just buckled up and got through it?
I think I was pretty prepared for it. I knew it was going to be rough at times. Going into basic training is it's like a culture shock. It's a whole new world. You're learning military bearing. You're learning how to march, how to do it the military way or the Navy way. And there was a couple of times I thought like, what am I doing? But I knew to look at the big picture. Just do my job, do what I'm supposed to do my service, and then that college money was on the horizon. That way, get my education and then make something of myself. So I knew that just look at the big picture. That's what got me through it.
Of the individuals that entered basic training with you, how many made it all the way through?
We had a division of about 70, somewhere in the 70s, and throughout that course, I think basic is about 12 or 14 weeks. I can't remember. I think it was 14 weeks. Two of them didn't make it through, and what they did to them guys, they just needed a little extra help, and they just made them repeat basic training. But both of them made it through. I saw one of them at Great Lakes Naval Training Center when I made it to A school. He finally made it. It just took him a while to get him through it.
So the basic training ends, you've made it through. What was going through your head that day?
I remember graduation. My mom and dad flew up from Texas, and they came to my graduation, and I was in my dress whites, and they were so proud of me. And I remember I made it through the first part, and it was just a different world after that. I knew now the next step, they were going to send me right across the street to Naval Training Center, and I was going to go to A school and learn how to be a radio man.
How'd you pick that?
Actually, I originally wanted to be an air crewman. I wanted to be an air crewman. I wanted to fly on airplanes, maybe work my way up to be a pilot, but learn aviation. I was just very interested in ships and aviation. I thought that would be neat. But during basic training, flight physical, there was something with my sinuses that disqualified me from going to flight school, from going to flight training. So they told me, okay, you can be a hospital corpsman or you can be a radio man. Take your pick. And I picked being a radio man because I had a associate's degree in radio, television, broadcasting, communications. I know it wasn't the same, but I went with that, and that was the best decision I could have made at the time, and I was glad I did that.
What was the curriculum in A school?
At the time, they were merging the data processors and the radio men together. So they taught us both sides of the house. They taught us the data processing side, which was computers. And at the time, this was 1997, computers, they were kind of still kind of new, coming out, personal computers. And I got to learn computers and how to work one. And then the other side was the radio side, how to work those radios, how to communicate on the ship. So that way, when you get out of A school, they can ship you anywhere in the world, depending on the needs of the Navy, if they need data processors or radio men. And for me, I was going to be a data processor, and that's what they picked me for.
How long did it take to get through A school?
Let's see, how long was it? Off the top of my head, I think it was about 8 weeks, something along those lines. And they got us through it, and then off to the fleet I went.
You wanted to be a pilot, and the physical knocked that off your list of aspirations. But did you then think on where you wanted to serve on a ship? What kind of ship? Did you want to be land-based? What was your thinking before you were assigned?
I wanted a ship. I kind of wanted a smaller ship. I wanted either a destroyer or a guided missile cruiser, something like that. But the Navy gets to pick, and for me, they picked the USS Enterprise, CVN 65 aircraft carrier, and I wanted a smaller ship. Just for I don't know why. I don't know why. I just wanted a smaller ship, but now I'm going to be put on the biggest one they make. With there's going to be 5,500 other people on it, and I knew that would be pretty tough, but that's where they sent me.
What was your rank when you went on the Enterprise?
When I reported to the Enterprise Labor Day weekend, 1997. Thanks to my associate's degree, I went in as an E3, so I had a little higher rank, and that's what I reported as. Just Seaman Casey Clem on the USS Enterprise.
How many people did your job on the Enterprise?
Let's see. We had a shop of about 20 people. About 20 people working in my shop. So yeah, it's about 20 of us there, just in my shop.
List what your specific responsibilities were. In other words, what did you do every day?
We were in charge of the computer systems, maintaining both the hardware and the software side. My job was particularly software. So we would just basically, we fixed computers. We fixed the workstations around the ship, and we also maintained the servers that kept the computer systems going. We were the heartbeat of the computer systems on the Enterprise.
So is this all the computer systems, including the ones that would be in the combat center?
Not all of them. Our shop, well, we were Combat Systems Second Division. They called us the ADP department, Automated Data Processing Department. We're just ADP, and we were on the unclassified supply side. So we did the supply systems. My job, I was the night shift supervisor. I worked the nights. I was a supervisor, and I was in charge of the Nalcomas system. It was an old, antiquated system, but it still worked. Nalcomas, it stood for, what was it? Naval Aviation Logistics Command Information System. And it was just an old system, but it worked. It tracked it tracked airplane parts all over the ship. So if a mechanic needed a certain part, he would just type the part number in the Nalcomas system. It would print out a ticket, and it would tell him where to go get it. So that was my job, to make sure that system ran. We also ran the SUDAPS, which was stood for Supply Something Automated Data Processing System, and also the AV3M system, which also kept up with aircraft maintenance. And that was our job, to keep those systems up, because it was those systems that helped keep those airplanes flying. And that was my little cog in the wheel of the machine.
So what was an average day like for you? What was your schedule like?
When we were deployed, when we were out to sea, it was 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So I was on the night shift. We would report at about 7 p.m. at night and relieve the day shift. They would be done, and then we would take over. Our job was to take phone calls. If anybody was having computer problems, we would log those. If any of the computer systems broke, we had to fix it. Later at night, once pretty much the crew had gone to sleep, we would do system maintenance on our servers. We would take the servers down, do maintenance, and then restart them. We would also do saves. We would save all the work that was done from the ship that day. That way, if the system crashed the next day or the next week, we would have backups. So we would run backups and saves. that was our job during the nighttime, and then we would we'd get up and then we would be relieved by the day shift at about 7 the next morning.
I know we've talked before. You went all around the world, but talk to us about where you were deployed.
Oh, let's see. I went on a med cruise in 1998, Mediterranean cruise, and it was so neat. One of the other reasons I wanted to be on a ship, you get on those ships and they'll take you somewhere. And we sailed across the ocean. We went to the Mediterranean. We got to go see places, and we would pull the ship into port. They mainly had to get supplies. We needed more food. Also, it's a good idea to get people off the ship just to blow off a little steam and go sightsee and see things. So we got to see some neat places. I got to go to Venice. I got to see Italy. Got to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Went to Turkey. Turkey was a neat place. And let's see. I mainly remember Italy is what I remember. I got to go see Rome. I got to see the Vatican. Went to Florence, seen all those wonderful works of art from the Renaissance. I got to see Michelangelo's David. Got to see all those wonderful things that I just seen in books or seen on TV back home in Texas, and now I get to go see those things.
I know there was one port you were supposed to stop in. You wanted to go see the French Riviera, but duty called. Tell us about that.
Oh, we were on our way to France, Cannes or Cannes, France, is however you pronounce it. I never could get it right. We were going to France, and we were going to see the French Riviera. I couldn't wait. I was going to get to see France. But duty calls. Yugoslavia, Slobodan Milosevic got to acting up, and there was all kinds of trouble in Yugoslavia. And so they sent us over there. And so we had to pull up anchor. I had to work the first day while we were in port, but I was going to have the next 3 days to hang out on the French Riviera. And of course, after that first day, the captain comes on and says, "Hey, we got the call. We have to go." And so we pulled up anchor. I got to see the French Riviera, but it was from the deck of the ship. That was it. But I can still see it. It's just absolutely beautiful, and I'd like to go back there one day. And then off we went to the Adriatic to patrol and await orders. And of course, by the time we get there, they start talking peace talks, which was a good thing. Yeah.
So Jess, the Enterprise, floating off the coast, had an impact.
Yes, and I remember our captain, Captain E.M. Chanick was his name. He came on the 1MC and told us, this happens when we put an aircraft carrier in someone's backyard, things change. And they started talking peace after we showed up. And we just floated around in circles awaiting orders. And
what other operations were you involved in?
the main one was Operation Desert Fox. Operation Desert Fox was a bombing campaign against Iraq, December 16th through 19th, 1998. This was when Saddam Hussein was in power in Iraq, and he had chemical weapons plants, and he wouldn't let United Nations and UN inspectors inspect them. So we just got the orders to blow them up, and we did bombing missions. And my part of my job was making sure those computers worked, so those planes would stay in the air.
So when you were in active operations, did your job change at all?
Just a little bit. Once it was go time, they started launching them planes, it was my job to stay up with them computers. I was pretty much up the whole time, just making sure those computers were okay, just making sure they worked. When it was time to do saves, my Chief Moore told me, he said, "All right, Clem, make sure the computers go down, get your saves done, and get them right back up as soon as you can. That way we can keep these planes. If they needed parts, they needed to get them quick." So I would take those systems, take my Nalcomas system down. That was mine. So I would get the system down, do the saves, and get it back online so those aircraft mechanics can get those parts and get those planes flying.
I just got off a cruise ship with 6,000 passengers, but I think it's slightly different when you're on an aircraft
Yes.
carrier. What is life like? What was it like living on the Enterprise?
Oh, it was a different environment, but it was a working environment just all day long. Every person on that ship had a cog in the wheel, something to do, a job that made sure the ship was battle ready, from the guys washing dishes all the way up to the captain. Everybody had their cog in the wheel, and it was just a working environment all day long. Planes being launched off the top deck, just 5,500 people all working together for one common goal, just to make sure them airplanes can fly, and make sure we can do our jobs, make sure we have combat readiness. And that's what it was like. You worked, you ate, and if you had a little time, you just relaxed and rested when you could. Also, if things were good, if things were working, it was great. You just did your 12 hours, you got done, you could go to the gym, you could rest, watch TV. But if stuff was broke, if those systems were broke, we had to stay until they were back online, until we fixed them. And if we couldn't fix them, we would have to get help from outside. We would have to get on the phone and call people and have us walk us through it. And that happened a lot.
It wasn't an official operation, but you were on the Enterprise heading into Y2K.
Oh, yeah.
So what was that like, working in IT when this cataclysmic Y2K date was coming up?
Y2K, yes. We'd been preparing for Y2K for quite some time. We didn't know what was going to happen. The whole world didn't know. We just prepared for it throughout that year leading up to it. We did tests. We put patches on our codes. We prepared for it, all contingency plans, and then it came. New Year's Eve for Y2K. We were in port. We were in port at that time, and I was the shift supervisor when that happened. And Chief went home and said, "All right, Clem, it's all you. Here's my home number. If anything, if it crashes, give me a call." And New Year's Eve, clock ticks down, midnight rolls around, and there I was, just watching them computer systems on an aircraft carrier. They just rolled right over and just kept on ticking. And I picked up the phone, called Chief, and said, "Everything's okay. Everything's working just like we said it would. It's going to be okay." And then I logged it in the logbook. So my log entry for Y2K is there on the ship. So.
What port were you in?
Our home port was Norfolk, Virginia, Norfolk Naval Base, Pier 11.
How long are you on the Enterprise?
Let's see. I reported there Labor Day weekend, 1997, and I got out of there February 4th, 2001. So about 3.5 years.
Is that common, just to stay on the same ship throughout a tour?
Everybody's time is different. The rotation, I knew I would be on that ship for a little longer, and after about 4 years, I realized I wanted to go home. I wanted to go back to school, get my education, and plus I missed my family back in Texas. I knew I did my 4 years, and when my time was up, it was time to go.
What do you think was the best thing about your military service?
Oh, best thing. The best thing. I think the best thing for me was just knowing I was able to do that job and sign up and serve my country. They taught me computers. They taught me how to work with other people. They taught me how to work with others, I'm sorry, what was that question again? Lost train of thought.
What did you think the best thing about
The
your
best
service
thing.
was?
The best thing. Like I said, my service, but just being on that ship, getting to go to those ports, going to see those places, and being in the Navy, wearing that uniform, all of it was just wonderful, and I was just so glad I did it.
Take us to your last day in the service.
Last day. Been preparing, getting ready to go back home, transitioning from military to civilian life. Plus saying bye to all your friends, your shipmates, people you've worked with, people you've shared living spaces with, people you've worked in close quarters with, just on that ship. Very, very special people. Saying goodbye to all of them. It was sad, but at the same time, I knew it's time for the next chapter of my life, to move on, go back to college, and go from there. So it's kind of bittersweet.
So the day after you left the service, where were you? Where'd you go?
I was, had my stuff on a U-Haul and was just heading back to Texas. I just drove all the way from Norfolk, Virginia, all the way back to Ennis, and just the whole time was just excited and just grateful and happy that I was able to complete my time and serve honorably. And now it was time for the next chapter. My head was going in all kinds of different directions on that ride home, knowing I got to get back. I was going to see my family. Got to apply for college. I got to get into college and go from there.
So how long did it take from the time you left the Navy to beginning your college career?
I timed it out just perfect. As soon as I got out, I was able to start up classes immediately, and I was able to get my Navy GI Bill going. Had a place to stay. My Aunt Vivian and my Uncle Larry had a little trailer house down there in Stephenville. My Uncle Larry and my Aunt Vivian bought it, and they would rent it out to us. They would rent it out to all the cousins, nieces, nephews, anybody that wanted to go to school down there. We could live in that trailer, and so I had a place to live. I had my college going. I got my college money going, and once I was able to just focus on my studies, I didn't fail any more classes, and I was able to graduate with a teaching certificate, and I was able to get out of college with 0 student debt and the certifications and things I needed to start my career in public education.
Before you went into the Navy, you told us you were flunking all your courses
Yes.
at Texas Arlington. When you got out, you didn't flunk any. In fact, you got great grades. What impact did your Navy time have on that change in how you performed in college?
The Navy instilled much more discipline and self-reliance in me, learning how to do things better on my own, just basically taking care of my job, doing what I was supposed to do. And the Navy really helped with that. It also helped with time management, which is very important when you're trying to go to college, making sure you get your chores and your tasks done, and juggling 10 different things at once. The Navy taught me that very well. And when I got to college, when all I had to do was just focus on going to school and making my grades, it was just so much easier. And also, 4 years later, I was much more mature. I was just a different person coming out, more disciplined, more steadfast, and that's one of the best things the Navy could have done for me.
Personality-wise, did it change you at all in terms of just how you interacted with others every day?
I learned a lot more about being professionalism, try not to joke around too much. That really helped. But personality-wise, I kind of kept my same personality, but with a little more military bearing. Also, just knowing how things worked in the military, and that helped as well.
Did you have any issues readjusting to civilian life?
None. None. I was able to get out, go right to school and start. I was very fortunate. I had a pretty good job, I was pretty safe on that ship. Uh, Never seen anything traumatic. I was able to just get out and go right back to go to school and just pick up where I left off. So I was very fortunate in that aspect.
Do you think it changed the way you interacted with others at all, your military service, on a daily basis?
A little bit. I think the military made me a little bit more serious. It made me, like I said, a little more professional and a little more well-rounded, I thought.
What are some of the life lessons you learned beyond what you've told us about in the military?
Oh, just life lessons. Service. Service is one of the main ones. Working with people, learning how to work with others that may be different from you, that have different views and opinions. Those are very important. What was the question again?
No, just the lessons that you
Lessons.
learned and how you interact with other people on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah. Courtesy, treating others with respect and courtesy, getting along. Those were good life lessons, and they've benefited me so much since I left the Navy. That really came in handy when I got an education, just learning how to treat others with professionalism and courtesy. Good lesson for a 24-year-old man.
Now, how has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
Well, with war, I was very fortunate. I never saw it up close. I never seen anything horrific or traumatic. I was pretty safe on that ship. I just worked in my little shop, making sure them computers worked, just doing my little job, doing my little cog in the wheel. But as far as conflicts and military conflicts, our military is what keeps us safe, and it's what makes us a powerful nation. And our military is great.
If you ran into a young Casey Clem today, before Casey signed to go to the Navy, what would you tell him?
Oh, I would tell Casey, hey, just hey, stay positive. And just like what Richard Reynolds told me, I would tell young Casey the same thing. The military is you get out of it what you put into it, and you just put the most into it that you can, get what you can out of it, learn as much, and take as much as you can with you, and just be positive. Don't complain, because it's going to get rough. Complaining just makes a tough situation even tougher. I think that would be good advice for anybody going into the military. And make sure you can do lots of push-ups and be in good physical shape. And your uniforms. I'm so proud of the uniform, being able to wear it and learning how to take care of it and what it means.
You teach some of the best and brightest students around right
Yes.
now in Oxford history. Do any of them ever come up and talk to you about military service, and what do you tell them?
Yes. They always like to ask questions about what life was like on an aircraft carrier. They like to ask what basic training was like. Do they yell at you and things like that? What's it like sleeping on a ship? What's the food like? They like to know what the food's like. And just recently, I had one of my students come up and tell me he joined the Marines because he liked my class and he liked my Navy stories and what I did. So I was real proud of that.
What were your fellow sailors like? I mean, I know in this society, a lot of times, well, he needs to get his life together, so we'll send him to the military. But I know there's also people I do know. There's a lot of very intelligent, smart people who also join the military. So what was, I mean, you didn't get to meet all of them.
Right.
No one could. But what was the crew made up of when you were on the Enterprise?
The crew was made up of, the crew looked like America. Everybody looked different. Everybody was different races, creeds, colors, religions. Some of the smartest, most brightest people I ever met were in the Navy. And at the same time, some of the biggest knuckleheads I ever met were in the Navy. But the smart ones, I remember Petty Officer Tyler McPherson with those computer systems. His brain was like a sponge. He could just soak up all that knowledge with computers. And he left. I hated to see him leave. He got transferred to the Pentagon, which was where he needed to be. He was so smart. When it comes to intelligence, I will always remember him, Petty Officer Jim Gearing, Dave Maberson, Dave Yates, Petty Officer Kelly, and then Eddie. I remember Eddie, DP2 Eddie. I remember Eddie.
How'd the officers treat you? Were they pretty good?
The officers were good. They are best and brightest. They treated us good. They looked after us. I was real proud of my officers. Lieutenant Junior Grade George Conan, J.G. Conan. He was a good officer, and I would have done anything for him. Our commanding officer, Captain E.M. Chanik, I would have sailed to the end of the world with him. He pinned on my second class crow when I got promoted, and that was one of the proudest moments of my life, having the captain of the USS Enterprise give me my second class badge. I'll never forget that.
So when you left the military, what was your final rank?
My final rank, I was an information system technician, second class, E5. I was able to make E5 in 2 years. What helped was having that associate's degree from Navarro. I got in as an E3, passed that first test for E4, and then I passed the E5 test the first time. So I got promoted very quick. I owe that to my associate's degree in Navarro College. That very much gave me a leg up and helped get me promoted through the ranks.
What was your longest deployment on the Enterprise?
Let's see, that med cruise, 6 months. I think back then it was 6 months. I think now it might be 8. Is it 8? Yeah. But 6 months, and that was the longest one. The longest we ever stayed out to sea, I think, was 28 days. And after about 28 days, it's time to get the crew ashore, get us out of there, let us blow off some steam before we start strangling each other. And then we'd pull into someplace neat, and get to go see a museum, go see art, go see Michelangelo's David, and go get to see those things that I only seen in books back home.
Was there any way to blow off steam on ship? Anything to do for fun when you're on ship?
They tried to do things to kind of help us out with that. They had a library. They had a great library. They always piped in movies for us. They had a closed-circuit television. We could watch movies. Sleep was the main way I wanted to blow off steam, if I could just get some sleep. They had a gym we could work out in, just to get some of that energy out. Those are the main things I remember as far as blowing off steam. But pretty much for the most part, you just worked and rested when you could.
Talk about port and starboard duty.
Port and starboard. Those were like the duty sections. And just kind of off the top of my head, you'd be on one duty section or the other, and we would just alternate as we got into port. It just depended. If it was your duty section, you'd have to work for a day, but then the next day you'd be off. So it's kind of back and forth.
We've covered a lot.
Yes.
Is there anything in particular you want people to know or remember about your service?
Just that about my service. Just military service is where a guy from a small town like Ennis, Texas, can sign up and be a part of something big, like an operation on an aircraft carrier. One of 5,500 people all working together for a common goal, just to make sure your ship is combat ready. And I think that's what I'd like people to remember.
I think we could talk for hours, but
Yes.
Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you think we should have at this point?
Let's see. As far as my military service, my military service is one of the things I value the most. I value my military service, my education. and my marriage to my wife, Jacqueline, who brought me to Florida. Those are my three, three greatest accomplishments of my life right there. And I'm proud of all three of them, and all three of them have made me the man I am today.
And interestingly, your wife helps design
Yes.
fighter jets.
Yes, I met my wife in when she lived at Fort Worth. I was teaching school in Ennis, and she was working for Lockheed Martin. She's a structural engineer, and she helped with the F-35 Lightning, the Lockheed F-35. And, then she got a job out here working with the Navy with the newest project. And that's what brought us to Florida, her job. And she told me that we could live out here in Florida and live on the beach. And she was right. And then I followed her here, and it's another one of the best decisions I ever made in my whole life.
Casey, thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to say thanks to Joe and Paul, and thank you, Jack. And I'd like to say thanks to Don Weaver and the Brevard Veterans Memorial Center. This place is fantastic. And thank you for helping me with this process and doing my Veterans Project. I've been looking forward to it. And thank you.
Thank you.